Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Fighting Chance Fantasy YouTube channel. My name is John Psilas. I'm joined by Corbin Young. Corbin, how you doing?
What's up? It's good to chat with you. I know we've been meaning to do this for a while here and just kind of hash out
Yeah,
some trends.
you're done with baseball, so we're ready
Almost.
to almost done with baseball, so we can hit football a little harder.
Yeah, we got one more day. There's one more day tomorrow, and then hopefully there's no ties or anything like that.
Yeah. So over the next 20 minutes or so, we'll go through some trends we've identified over the first few weeks. I feel like when we draft, you're kind of assuming how things will go, but after 3 or 4 weeks, you kind of are able to get a hold of things, actually what's actually happening on the field. So some things that we think are important that you've been able to identify uh, for some future success, fantasy success. So let's get to it. Do you want to start in Buffalo?
Yeah, so this backfield, man, Devin Singletary and Zack Moss, right? There was that weird like week one where like Zack Moss was inactive, and I was like, what? And then Singletary ran pretty well, right? Like 80 total yards against the Steelers. And then it looks like snaps wise and touches wise kind of evened out. A little more production on the Zach Moss side. So I kind of wanted a piece of this backfield, but I didn't really land a ton of this. But yes, this is interesting. I'm curious on your thoughts. I have some other thoughts about the high value touches a little later, though.
Yeah, I think when we were drafting, I was staying away from it. I felt like it was you could kind of see this coming just because they had two decent backs. I mean, they seemed to like both of them last year. I liked Devin Singletary a little bit more than Zach Moss. He seems like more of a plotter, kind of a goal line back. But the usage this year in a offense that's kind of clicking on all cylinders, at least in week three they were. Um, but like the trends are it's almost 50-50. I mean, Zach Moss had a big week last week, but I think it was buoyed by like one big run. Am I right there? He had like 91 total yards, buoyed by a big run. But overall, I don't like either of these guys, and it's kind of a backfield to stay away from. Do you agree? Like you don't know either guy's role.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I'm a little more interested in Zach Moss, but it's just the high value touches, right? It seems like they use Singletary kind of in the from like the 20 to the 20, and then once they get towards like the inside the red zone and 10-yard line, they use Zach Moss a little bit more. Ben Gretsch does like the high value touches stuff, and
Yeah,
I mean Zach Moss is up there like number 7 overall with like 6 of them, and he's only played in 2 games, right? And there's some other top backs in there, so I think it's just more about usage there. But he's sitting kind of near like Chase Edmonds, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, but um, I think with Moss, you might just have to overlook, and just make sure he's playing about half the time, right? Make sure that
yeah,
snap share is about half the time, and just kind of plug him in as
yeah.
like a flex play. Hope he lands in the end zone once.
Do you think? Do you think Josh Allen is taking fewer touches at the goal line this year? Like, will it make Zach Moss worth that flex spot?
I haven't. I mean, we haven't quite seen that quite yet, but they're still passing a ton, right? So I think it's
Yeah,
just a matter of like you're taking a gamble on one of the high scoring offenses. They're going to pass a ton. They're
right.
not going to get a ton of targets, but they'll get a few there. And if there's an injury to one of these guys, I think it's like automatic RB2 that
Yeah,
I mean, could get that 80, 90 yards, right? Like kind of like Singletary had in week one, where I think that's valuable to have. And you add those touchdowns, and eh, you know they're not going to have a ton of touches, but just hope that they gain some steam there. So
touchdown here or there. Speaking of not a lot of touches, let's go to Arizona, where the Cardinals, man, I had a lot of DeAndre Hopkins coming into the season. You could get him depending on where you were drafting from. You could usually get him in the second round, some late second, early third. I know it's week three, going into week four. We kind of forget about our draft and our priors, but DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver one, it's not happening. Rondell Moore and Christian Kirk, I think battling for the wide receiver 2 position, and then you have Kyler kind of spreading it out. So what do you think's going on? What's important going on in Arizona?
Yeah, I think this was I was kind of the same way, right? I think I took the Andrew Hopkins in the Scott Fish Bowl. Yeah, I just kind of I thought it was a little underpriced ADP wise, but yeah, they just keep spreading it around. I'm a little hopeful. There's always the jokes about like they're supposed to be the air raid offense, but they're the horizontal raid or something like that. But like the adjusted yards per attempt for Kyler has gone up. I like to monitor that. It's up at 9 adjusted yards per attempt, number 4 overall, and I like to monitor that. Last year was 6.8, which is 20th, but I usually try to monitor kind of the efficiency numbers, but they're gonna throw a decent amount. But yeah, they're just sprinting around. Your boy AJ Green over there just doesn't go away. Doesn't go away. He's still just eating up targets.
The corpse of AJ Green is cramping. I had no idea in my best balls I was drafting AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins would take a hit. That feels brutal to me. But what about Christian Kirk? I had a lot of him last year, and he did nothing. I mean, he did nothing for me. He was on. You end up dropping him in season long on a best ball team. He wasn't worth much. Now, I think he's the bona fide wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I think he's definitely shown that he's pretty explosive, right? And I've been kind of monitoring, the snap share is not there, but I've been trying to monitor the targets per route run and stuff like that, and just kind of monitor where that's at. But I mean, when you have 70, 65 yards and 104 yards, in the first 3 games, like, and the target share is it's been all over the place, but against Jacksonville, take it for what it's worth. But again, our boy Rondell Moore didn't quite do anything great against Jacksonville. But yeah, I think Kirk's a solid kind of. There's so many good receivers, so he's probably like a flex play, but he's it's probably gonna. AJ Green's gonna play on the field a ton, right? So
yeah,
Kirk's gonna have to sit in that wide receiver 3 role on their team in terms of snaps, at least, right?
Yeah, I think between Rondell Moore and AJ Green, they're gonna fight for snaps and be wide receiver 4 at best. With Chase Edmonds kind of dabbling a little bit in some of the receptions. So yeah, Rondell Moore, I think. I drafted him late, but I've since not played him, obviously. So we'll see how that goes moving forward.
Yeah. First 2 weeks, it looked like it was looking great. Like the targets per route run were at like 38%, 36%, and then it just plummeted in week 3. So I'm trying not to get over, reactionary, but most of us probably, considered or did start Rondell Moore in week 3. So it's kind of makes us feel kind of weird about that. So, but yeah, that's just stuff trying to be monitoring there. I don't know if all 4 Cardinals receivers can eat there, right? I'm not worried about Hopkins in week 3. I think he came in with like an injury or something, but
yeah, I
think 3 of these guys are going to go off. Just got to guess which 3.
I like to trust talent when it comes to age. Freudian slip. Wow. Trust the talent with DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green. I'm planting my flag on that one. What do we have coming up? What do we have next? Derrick Henry. Do you want to talk about Derrick Henry?
Yeah, he won me a league last year, but the narrative has always been like, oh, he never is involved in the passing game. He's never involved in the passing game, right? He's got a 6%.
What's happened now?
Yeah, I know. Small 3-game sample size, but my ears are perking up. I'm like, what's going on here? Brought a 6% target share 2019, 2020, 13% target share. Derrick Henry. I was like, what? Even Jeremy McNichols, who I've kind of scooped up, is just like got a stash, right? He's kind of received some targets as well, and it's just something to monitor, right? Like with Julio Jones and AJ Brown banged up, it'll be interesting to kind of see how those targets are shake out this week. But
exactly,
I don't know if this is like just a product of like just the spreading it around, if I'm throwing a little bit more. I think Ryan Tannehill is throwing it like a few more past the game, but a 22% target share to their running backs. I mean, that's like that was unheard of. So I mean,
Yeah, it's a big difference. But they are so thin behind AJ Brown and Julio Jones. Like, it's laughable. And so I think either they're going to do. I don't think this week they're going to throw quite as much, but if they do, I think they'll throw a couple dump offs to Derrick Henry. Over under what, 2.5? You think he'll get 2.5 receptions?
I mean, at this point, I mean, it seems like it's pretty easy, right? He's
That's a
had 3
lock,
every
yeah.
game, So
Yeah, and I think they'll keep the defense honest. I was watching a little bit of the game, his game last week, and he can catch a pass out of the backfield, and you never would have thought that from last year because they just didn't do it. And yeah, so I think it's a trend that's going to continue, in my opinion, and especially because those AJ Brown, which by the way, he's killed me. Rest in peace, my week 1 and 2 lineups. But Derrick Henry has taken a little bit of those dump offs.
Yeah, I mean, if this continues, he's got to be, assuming depending on how long Christian McCaffrey's out, like him and Dalvin Cook could be pushing for that top RB, right? Like, I still believe in Alvin Kamara, but I mean that Saints offense is like Alvin Kamara, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's pretty rough.
You can't trust. I can't trust Jameis. I don't care what the. I'm a hater. Call me a hater and loser when it comes to Jameis, but he's like a non-trustworthy QB every week, and the offense just suffers. But that's my.
Yeah, it's no Bruce Arians around, so he can't just chuck it up every
That's
time, right?
That's right. Let's move to Atlanta, where we have Mike Davis and my guy, Cordarrelle Patterson. Tell us a little bit about what's happening in Atlanta.
We just have that 8-year breakout, right? 8-year breakout by Cordarrelle Patterson. I mean, that's what we've been all been waiting for. No, I wasn't like super into Mike Davis, but there was one of the backfields that some of the research that was done, and I kind of added on that. It was like the small back, big gap backfields, and Atlanta was one of those big gaps, right? It was Mike Davis, it was Javian Hawkins, maybe Quadri Cordero, it was just kind of like, so I was like, well, I mean, I think I grabbed Mike Davis in a couple of spots. It's not, obviously he's not doing anything, but yeah, I mean, every week it's kind of trended down, right? I kind of looked at the target share and stuff, and I mean, Mike Davis is getting a healthy amount, but if Cordarrelle Patterson is going to be like uber efficient on those touches, only being on the field like 30-40% of the time, I mean, we already know he's an explosive athlete. So who cares if he's only, touching the ball? I mean, he's got the efficient ones too, right? He's getting 6-7 targets the past couple of weeks. And
I mean, he's easily their most explosive player right now, which is a sad thing to say, because we wanted that to be Calvin Ridley, but catching the ball, 4 yards down the field is not doing much for Calvin Ridley. So, these dump offs, swing passes to Cordarrelle Patterson is the only way they're moving the ball, and it leaves Mike Davis kind of the odd man out.
I know we're talking about this beforehand about like, I mean, I was pretty excited about this Falcons offense. Maybe I was buying too much into like, oh, Arthur Smith, right? It was like efficient. Mm-hmm. There was good, the way they moved the ball with Tennessee and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't have Matt Ryan anywhere, but he's just been awful. And, the adjusted yards per attempt is, pretty awful right now.
Really low, yeah.
Like 5.3. And so,
I mean, he has a 6-yard ADOT.
Yeah.
Yikes. So, I don't know if that's an offensive line thing or an Arthur Smith thing. I mean, is he a fake sharp? Like, coming into the season, we thought he was a sharp after what he did in Tennessee, but coming now, he's on fake sharp alert.
Yeah, it's probably a mix of both, right? Atlanta's never had like the best offensive line, at least in recent years, and or maybe it's Julio Jones just leaving, clearing the way. But no, yeah, it's definitely that line of offense has not been as expected. But if there is one guy, backfield wise, I think Cordarrelle Patterson is obviously already scooped up, but sounds gross, but I've even debated even just like acquiring him in a trade. But I was like, nope, no, I can't. Cancel. Don't do it.
Rest of season. Cordero Patterson or Mike Davis?
I mean, PPR wise, it's probably, just I like efficient players, and if Cordero Patterson is going to be this efficient, I'd rather have Cordero Patterson, right?
But is it going to last? Do you have trust in Cordero?
I mean, if it almost feels like he's kind of, I haven't dug too much into like Chase Edmonds, but I feel like it's almost kind of that, right? Where it's like, doesn't need to be on the field a ton, but if he's going to, be efficient and explosive and get some of those plays. And so, Cordero Patterson is averaging 7 yards per touch, right? Like, and just so I like Mike Davis, and I think he's still going to be kind of a guy that they're going to roll with, but it's earlier than I expected that some of this was just going to phase in here where Cordero Patterson he's not going to take over, I think, but he's just going to eat into enough, right?
Yeah. If you have Mike Davis like I do, and you won your bidding on Chuba Hubbard, you're starting Chuba Hubbard this week. No trust in Mike Davis. Mike Davis season. Okay. Let's move to Baltimore. And you're telling me, Corbin, that Lamar Jackson is number 8 overall in adjusted air yards. Tell me this is true.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on here, but Lamar Jackson is airing it out. The volume's typically low. It's up a little bit. I don't think the Ravens defense is as good or as healthy right now. I think I noted their game script. Like usually they're just dominant, right? Like usually they're just like ahead of like past couple years they've either led the league in game script, right? So they're ahead like 6 or 7 points, and now they're in the middle of the pack. They're negative, right under -1 with the game script. So I don't know if it's just a product of the first 3 games, facing the Raiders and the Chiefs that, obviously have better offenses. But I mean, even the Lions, I don't know what was going on with the Lions. Felt like they're almost going to lose to the Lions. I think it's something to monitor, right? The air yards with Lamar Jackson.
I think what to monitor if we're talking about trends in Baltimore is Lamar airing it out more, affecting the running. I think they have a less effective running game after Gus Edwards out. Basically, J.K. Dobbins out, and so he's airing it out more. But is it effective? Is it working for the offense? You had Marquise Brown last week, fake Hollywood Brown, dropping. I think he dropped 3 long passes. 2 of them could have been touchdowns. So when we talk about air yards, I feel like these are real compared to last year. They were kind of, he had trouble with staying with on target passes and things like that. So the air yards were there, but they weren't catchable balls. This year, it seems like they're catchable balls.
Yeah, and there was talk in the offseason, I think, about just like being able to air it out a little and not be so. But yeah, that's a good point with the run game. Them losing 2 of their top backs. And so I guess 3 out of the top 4 with Justice Hill for what that's worth. That's probably definitely going into it, right? They're not able to kind of establish a run as much as they'd like and having to air it out. But, that's kind of good for pass catchers wise. Like I think Marquise Brown is kind of continuing what he did towards the end of last year. Sammy Watkins, another just having a revival here.
He's playing pretty well.
Yeah. So I think he's getting a decent amount of opportunities, 10th highest target share. Yeah. I mean, he's already gone, but he might be more viable than we're used to in the Baltimore passing game, right?
Are you picking up Rashad Bateman?
I mean, I feel like this might happen with several of these rookies that we're kind of excited about. It may take them a while. If you have an IR spot, stash them, of course, but I don't know. I mean, I've got my boy Jerry Jeudy already clogging up my IR spot in a couple spots. So, Rashad Bateman ain't coming on. He ain't coming on quite yet.
Rest in peace. That's what your KJ Hamler. Do we talk about KJ? Can we mention KJ Hamler on this pod? Or?
I mean, I already have to admit that I had to mention Tim Patrick as a possible sleeper. It's just like,
Was he in your sleeper article?
Tim Patrick was this
Did
week.
you write him up?
This week. I just figured they're playing the Ravens this week, and I was like,
sorry.
he's probably gonna, but it's okay. KJ Hamler was in that, what I thought would be a smash matchup against the Jaguars. It was awful. But
I'll send you flowers. Where are we going next? Let's head. I forced this on you. We have to talk about Mike Williams, Big Mike Williams, BMW. I talk about a revival. I mean, he's in his contract year, and the coach talked about using him in the quote unquote Michael Thomas role, and nobody believed it. Are you a believer? I mean, it's been 3 weeks.
I mean, I'm a believer just from the sake of just the different average target distance, right? Sometimes we see this happen where the average target distance drops a little bit because, I mean, he was typically like this deep ball guy, right? In 2019, it was like 17.4. 2020 is 14.8, right? And then now it's like, it looks bad. I mean, not bad, but it looks weird that it's like 8.3,
Right.
It's lower than Keenan Allen's average target distance.
Right.
But, I think that's converting into just like more successful receptions and receiving yards and stuff like that. And he's always going to be a red zone threat. But I mean, yeah, I was talking to somebody, I think Marvin Eloquin was posting something about Mike Williams. I was like, I don't have him anywhere. I wasn't even considering him. And now I wish I had just one, Mike Williams. But
I've got him in a couple places. I think when we talk about, trends, Justin Herbert is a baller. And so when you have Mike Williams in the right system, I mean, he's eating a little bit into Keenan Allen's targets. And that average depth of target, that's where Keenan Allen used to eat. And so, but Mike Williams is actually doing a great job kind of transitioning, not being just a deep guy. Are you buying Mike Williams over Keenan Allen as the top receiver in San Diego? Oh, in Los Angeles from here on out? Sorry.
I mean, I'm hesitant to say yes, I am, because I think it's kind of like the, not as much of an extent, but I think it's kind of like the Rams situation, right? It's kind of like Cooper Kupp where, yeah, it's been amazing through 3 weeks, but I think, just naturally defenses are going to maybe shift or double team Mike Williams a little more and, kind of open things up on the other end. I mean, it's hard to have any player dominate, but yeah, I think it's when it's paired with a guy like Justin Herbert, I think it's definitely possible if he's feeding on the ball this much, and the targets are obviously, I mean, the target share is just almost doubled, right? So I think double that plus, I don't say safer targets, but maybe easier to complete targets, right? More successful in that area, and they're going to throw it a ton. I mean, I mean, he's probably got to be in that like top 15, at least for now, rest of season.
Easily. Rest of season, I'll say top 20, top 24. I mean, he's a wide receiver too going forward, but I think with the trustworthy quarterback, these deep targets that Phillip Rivers could never complete. Defenses are having to stay honest. That Eckler has bell cow usage. Eckler's being used at the goal line. I think this opens up defenses in a way to keep Mike Williams one-on-one on the outside. Some of these, zone defenses, he can just eat. And so he's catching balls at, not so far downfield. And then also, like you said, he's in the red zone. He's a weapon. So I like him going forward. I have a soft spot in my heart for Keenan Allen. I don't know why, because I'm a Bronco fan, but I think Keenan Allen is such a baller. So I don't want to say that he's wide receiver one over Keenan Allen, but it might happen as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a similar situation like the Bucs do, right? Where it's like I mean, they have three, but you're kind of deciding whether it's Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, right? Just about they pass, just the weapons they have, it might be one of those where they could possibly both be, top 15, top 20 receivers. And so far it's been pretty fruitful, even in some tougher matches, I think, right? They played the Chiefs and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, they played the Chiefs last week and won. They played a great game.
Yeah.
Are you buying I'm going to throw this one on you. Are you buying Cortland Sutton?
I mean, I might as well if I was buying into Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and the entire Broncos offense, and
but they're different skill sets. I mean, if you liked, I know you liked. You wrote up Jerry Jeudy's skill set as being one to target and a second-year breakout and stuff. Cortland Sutton, different skill set, and he's coming off an injury. So, different thoughts there.
I think I have like Cortland Sutton on a couple teams. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy on a couple spots as well, of course. But I mean, I think so, right? There's something to, I forgot who talks about this a lot, but there's something to, like, they talk about guys like Cortland Sutton are just like that alpha, right? They're big. They're, they're like Mike Williams, right? They just command targets and they're just like successful in a lot of areas. And so I think there's something to that. And, I've always been not a Teddy Bridgewater fan, but just like saying that, hey, he's not as terrible as you think he is, right? Like, he's accurate. He's pretty smart. Like, he kind of gets the ball where he needs to be, right? He's not going to be, he's not going to be Justin Herbert or anything, right? But he's going to kind of let these receivers be pretty serviceable and be able to move the ball and move the chains and stuff like that. So,
yeah, he's doing good work in Denver. 3-0.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Corbin, I think we did it. We kept it under 30 minutes. That's a victory.
Yeah, hopefully we'll maybe be back next week around this time and just kind of going through some trends or just some random things that kind of pop up and based on the research in the weeks, right? I think with a lot of this information, like we're kind of talking about right now, right? I think even just a few years ago, we used to be like, we're just going to wait and see if Mike Williams is a real thing. But there's no wait and seeing anymore, right? There's so much information. Everybody's just sharper. You just kind of got to go with your gut based on what you're seeing. And even if it's a small 3-game trend, you have to be like, all right, I better decide whether I'm in or I'm out, and just kind of make those decisions a little quicker, it seems like. But thanks for tuning into us, and hopefully we'll keep this going here. You want to let them know? Oh, do you have your Twitter handle there? And
yeah, you can find me at John Psilas, John Psilas, on Twitter. Hit me up.
All right, and you can find me at Corbin_Young21. Do a lot of writing in the week, and hopefully John and I will be back next week, working through some week 4 data here, and hopefully we can win some of those matchups. So thanks for tuning in.
Let's plan on it. All right.